Hey guys, Xoranath here. Have another how-to gear and specialized video for you today. We had a request for looking at some of the fairies. Fortunately, the only fairy I do own right now is the blue fairy. Still missing the green, red, light and dark, obviously. But we could talk about the blue one today. So blue fairy is a very cool unit. I like to use this unit on offense going into control teams, or teams that are heavily dependent on debuffs. Just to orient ourselves here with what the blue fairy does. So S1, it does a sleep with a actually a fairly low chance there, but if you're successful, you're going to increase your action bar by 50%, which is really good for turn cycling if you can get that to land. S2 is a very cool ability. It's very similar to Filaria from Summoner's War, if you all played that. Basically, if there's any debuffs on any of your allies, you are going to get rid of those debuffs on your allies, put them on the enemy, and then you're going to heal your teammates. So very nice support ability, and then a very cool passive. So the more turns the enemy takes, there's going to be a chance that they're going to freeze. So if they're doing a bunch of stuff and just cycling through a bunch of turns, which a lot of control teams try to do, there's going to be a increased chance that they are going to freeze. And then also there's a part B to this. So actually a part B and a part C. So part B here is that if an enemy is frozen or they just normal attack, you're going to also increase your action bar. So we have a couple things with the S1 and with the passive here that are capable of increasing action bar. And then any of the allies you have that are frozen, sleeping, stunned, whatever, inability effect is on them, they're going to receive 70% less damage. Then we also do have an accuracy leader skill. So with that, we want to build this as a support unit and very tanky. The number one stat that I would recommend you guys focus on for the fairy is resistance. I think the closer to like 200 you can get with it, probably the better. This one here is like at 149, and I'm still not quite happy with the resistance that's on this one, to be honest with you guys. I think you really need to crank the resistance up for this to be a super effective unit, especially if you're attacking into control teams. Like, they're going to have high accuracy. You need to have high resistance to counter that, because although we can move debuffs over to the enemy, if we're stunned, we can't do that. So we have to be able to resist the effects ourselves. So get as much resistance on there as you can. Other stats I want you guys to focus on. So HP, we want to be very tanky. This will also help with specialization later. So give her a lot of HP. I think is a good rule of thumb. Try to aim for like plus 30. Is a good number. Defense, same. Try to get some good defense on it. Plus 1,000 is a good benchmark. And the last stat I want you guys to focus on is accuracy. We do need accuracy for all of these things. So you need the accuracy to land your sleep. You do need accuracy to transfer the debuffs. There is a resistance check that happens there. They can resist the debuffs going over to them, so you do need accuracy for that. And same thing with this freeze. There is a resistance check that happens there, so the enemy can resist this passive freeze, so you need accuracy for that to land. Other stats, we're not really a damage dealer, so don't worry about attack as much. Speed, you can try to make it a little faster to cycle more, but at the same time, we have a lot of abilities and things that are going to be pushing our attack bar up. So, I mean, you don't need to, crank the speed on this thing. You can if you want, give it a go with a faster fairy. For specific, gears, what I would recommend is I'm running HP, resistance, and HP. I think you can run, any combination of HP, resistance, and defense. You could try to sneak a speed onto 2 if you want. That'll probably work out too. But just make sure you're tanky enough to survive. I'll click through all the gears here. I'll just go around a loop. You guys can see what I have here. This one here has too much crit rate and crit damage. It just happens to be what's on this set. You don't need that. Yeah, and you can see, defense, resistance, HP, accuracy, defense. Try to get stats like that onto your gears here. In terms of the specific sets, I think this is a great unit to just mix and match a bunch of 2 sets. I have on this one right now Revenge, Endure, and Life. So Revenge, this is a unit where the S1, if it hits and you land the sleep, you're going to increase your action bar. So if they hit you and then you trigger that, you're going to increase your action bar. So this is a unit that Revenge is decent on. If you want, you could run this triple Revenge. The one thing I'll say, especially mine's unskilled right now, so it's not super great. There isn't a super high chance of, the activation rate here is kind of low, right? So even skilled, it's only 40%. And then you have to pass the resistance check. So it's not going to happen as much as, it doesn't happen as much as I'd like on mine. But when it does happen, it does feel very nice because the enemy's asleep. You're boosting your attack bar. You're ready to, cycle even more. So Revenge is pretty nice on this thing. So I would recommend at least 1 Revenge set. I think that's decent. You could, go all out. Three sets is good. And remember, so I set, stats to focus on: resistance, accuracy, defense, HP, right? So any of the 2 sets that are in good increase stats. So like a life set is good. Endure set is good here, getting that extra resistance. For some of these other things, let me unclick some of this. 4 sets, I don't think they're going to be great on this. Like the Bash set, we only have an S1 that isn't an AoE or anything. You could run Bash. It, give you a little bit extra stun every once in a while, especially like Bash Revenge. That could be workable. But like I said, probably just a bunch of 2 sets are gonna probably be your best bet. And you could run things like Zeal, Protect, Life. Mend is okay because we have some healing. Probably not the best on it, but you could give that a go. Let's see, Faith, even more attack bar. You could try Reflect, Endure. I would try to focus more on stats probably than individual 2 sets. So yeah, just mix and match whatever you guys have to get good, get the stats that you guys are looking for this. For IVs or the Physique 5 PVs, HP and defense are the ones you want, minus attack. And let's talk about the spec trees. So we're support and disabler. For this build, I am going to recommend that you guys run the support tree. We do have, she is both a support and disabler, right? So we have like the freeze and all that, but I think the disabler tree, it doesn't synergize as well with her. You can run it if you want. There's a couple nice things in there, but like I said, for this, I'm going to recommend support first row, strong, get that base HP up. Base HP is so strong. We are a healer, so I did go down the healing tree here, getting the healing effect. The allies with less than half health is going to increase, and then increase the active healing by 3% of our max health. So the more max HP we have, we're going to heal even more. And then just some additional resistance against all these nasty debuffs, which we're going to be going into. As we go down the tree, I think Steadfast is one of the best things in the tree for support, is just making sure you have at least that 10% resistance. They could be running 1,000 accuracy. 1 out of 10 times you should be able to resist things. And then I think you guys have maybe a little bit of a choice here. I recommend for these 5 points Vigilance. So as long as you have somebody else alive, you're going to take less crit damage, be more survivable. You could do Relaxed as well. We're going to be removing debuffs a lot with this thing, and can help increase your speed and increase your cycling. That's not bad. That's probably where I'll put my other 5 points if I ever get this thing stacked. I'll probably go in Relaxed. Just quickly talk about some of the others. We do want to stack resistance, but it's probably not as powerful as some of the other things on the tree. It's not bad to get that one. We don't revive, so don't get that. We don't do shield, so don't get that. Debuffs, your speed increased. We're trying to avoid getting debuffs on us, so I think this is kind of going against what we're trying to do, but, if you have this and you have debuffs and your speed increases, that can help negate some of the, you'll cycle faster, so, probably I wouldn't recommend it, but it's workable. We don't do hots. We talked about that one. Don't need this, and don't need this. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I'd recommend you guys run on the Blue Fairy. Yeah, and just to wrap this up, like I said, I like to use this into control teams, units with a lot of debuffs, things like that. Very fun unit. Yeah, recommend, especially if you haven't used it yet, definitely recommend giving it a go. I don't, like I said, mine isn't entirely skilled yet. I do think this unit benefits from being skilled, so once I get some more beans, I will skill this one up eventually here. But there you guys go. Those are my recommendations for the Blue Fairy. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you guys haven't. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.